ladies, and welcome to another episode of the Tracy Gold Show. And today we are talking to Kate Luzio of Luminary. It's an amazing, incredible collaborative hub and networking group and all things good and fabulous. And she's going to tell us today about how she started Luminary, why she started Luminary, and give us the rundown. So you want to stay tuned. So I'm just going to, there we go, Luminary. Just let's get her, yes, view request. Fantastic. And Kate is coming on. Don't we just love her? Yay! How are you, Kate? How you doing? I'm so good. It's great to have you on the show today. So, Kate, for those people who are watching both live and on the replay that don't know you, just give us a rundown of who you are, and then tell us your story.
Yeah, so I don't even know what I am anymore. I'm a relatively new entrepreneur, about 3 years now. Luminary is a little over 2 years. But before that, my life really was consumed for about 20 years in corporate and investment banking. So I worked for JP Morgan, Bank of America, HSBC for the majority of my career. I started out in tech, and client-facing, always lived around the world, ran big businesses, and on the side of my desk, particularly at JP Morgan and HSBC, where I spent the majority of my senior years, I got involved in all of our women's initiatives and making sure we were pipeline and developing talent and giving opportunities to women, and how are we looking at DE&I. And before DE&I was really a thing, right, a buzzword. And so I took all of that experience and everything that I was passionate about, both running businesses and leading businesses, but then also investing in talent and looking at the pipeline for women. And in 2018, left my job in banking and decided 2 months later to write a business plan for Luminary. 9 months later, we opened our physical doors. 14 months later, we had to close our physical doors for a few months, pandemic. But that was actually, and we could talk a little bit about it, but silver linings, because not that we were just a physical space to convene women in New York before that, but we were confined by four walls. Now we're global. We have members in 26 countries, which is incredible to me, because of the pandemic. So that's like my little bit of my story.
I love that. Okay, so let's back up a little bit, because Kate, I do know you and I have heard your story, which is amazing. And I mean, when you and I met, straight away, we just connected, shared our stories. We're like, yay! And thanks to Luminary for that even to be possible, which is incredible. And I've had the secret, just before COVID, I came to Luminary, the actual space, and I'd had a secret love affair with it for months and months and months. And then when things started opening up again, I became a member, came to the space, love it. So I'm a huge, huge fan. But I know that this wasn't necessarily an easy process for you. So speak to us a little bit about when you left your job in banking. I mean, you were pretty much a big hotshot, right? You were like very well known in your industry. You were incredibly successful. You were making really good money. And then you decided to leave your job. And if I recall correctly, you didn't even know what you were going to do.
No. A lot of people will think, I had this in my mind. It was like my side hustle. And for people that know me, I can't have a side hustle. Like, I'm all in. And that's just how I'm wired. I just go all in. And it's even when you try to find a new job, it was hard for me. That's why I never actually looked for a new job. I was always poached or recruited, because I wasn't the person. I needed to focus on what I was doing. But it was actually after a conversation with one of my mentors, who's still one of my mentors. And I had mainly male mentors throughout my career who were incredible. And he just said to me, what's your next thing you can do? And I said, well, I'm doing it. I'm a banker and I make money and I'm great. And he said, no, I think you can do more. Not that you can't do that as a banker, but that wasn't really what I path out to do when I was thinking about my life when I graduated from college. Not that we ever end up doing that, but what it did do was flip a switch in my brain. Like, what do I want to do? And the reality was, I thought I was going to go work for another big company and do something different, always in that client facing, revenue generating position. And in the process of leaving my job, being so depressed, because what did I just do? I didn't need a,
Mm.
I just wanted to figure out what that next step was. I was really like, this, what did I do? I should never have done this. And to be honest, I was already starting to take calls from recruiters around banking jobs, because you get this,
Mm.
I'm insecure. What did I just do? I gave up all the stability and money. But in the process, realized that the more and more people I was meeting outside of the banking world, they were all facing the similar challenge that many of the women face in banking, which is, how do I move faster through the pipeline? How do I get my hand raised? How do I get visibility? And it wasn't just women in corporate America. It was women in small business. It was entrepreneurs. It was women in transition trying to figure out what that next step was.
Mm.
And I kind of just
Mm.
said, wait a second. There's all of these groups, great. There's other spaces, great. But there's not a place that brings all of those professional journeys together so that we can cross-pollinate, learn from, inspire, at the same time invest in our own skills. There just wasn't a space like that, physically or digitally.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I said, I could do that. I know how to run a business. I know how to build a business. I wrote a business plan, which to me is the best thing that anyone can do when they're setting out to run a business or pivot or adapt. And that
Mm.
where the market opportunity was, it showed me where the gaps were, it showed me where our strengths could be, and it really kept us on the path of what we wanted to do and why we could focus on women throughout that pipeline. Not only
Yes.
work with individuals like you, Tracy, you're a business owner, you're doing a million different things, but also working with companies.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's where you move the needle too, with the women in the workforce, right? Because so many women haven't made that entrepreneurial leap yet. So how do we actually focus, invest in all of these types of women while not diluting what we can do? And so we knew at the heart
Yes.
of that, yes, bringing women together, but more importantly, offering them the opportunity to invest in their skills, upskill, reskill, while also building their network. And I have
Yes.
to say, my network prior to making this decision was very filled with, of course, bankers and people in finance.
Mm. Mm.
And now, 2.5 years into this, like 10 times bigger than what it ever could have been. It's filled with so many different kinds of women and men, and across geographies, but more importantly, disciplines and what they do. And I'm really lucky that I made the decision. But like I said, it was not an easy one. And,
Yes.
many days, every day, I go, what did I do? Why did I leave that career?
Mm.
That
Mm.
lesson as I go down the path. But I think certainly during this time of the pandemic, it's made people question, what they're doing today, what they could be doing. And for me, I feel
Mm.
like there's never been a better time for Luminary.
Oh, I agree. I agree. So, Kate, there's two things that strike me about what you've just said. The first one is on a personal level. And I know you well enough, and I think you and I are quite similar in this way, is that we tend to identify ourselves a lot with our work. Our
Oh,
careers are a big part of our lives. So that must have been a very scary time for you between the time that you left your banking career and then you decided what you were going to do. And also because we're all like,
yeah,
we're the mover and the shakers, right? We want things and we want them fast.
yeah,
And yet that discomfort, what's so interesting and so ironic about that is that the discomfort that you experience was exactly what you needed to take you to that place of, hey, there's a need here, right?
yeah,
Because if all your network was all in banking, who would you go to discuss doing something different?
right. And I
Who would
didn't.
you have those conversations with?
Exactly. And it was interesting when I wrote the business plan. Of course, who did I go to? I went to the people that I knew, right? And
Mm.
every said, this is a need, right? But then as you talk about your identity, and first of all, it was my decision to kind of strip that identity away, right?
Mm.
I will always, that is part of me. I love the markets. I love the everything deal related. I'm just doing it differently. But
Mm.
I, so, those couple of months, and even after we launched Luminary, I was still so used to, I work for JP Morgan. I work for HSBC. I have this big job. And then you kind of come out and you're like, oh, I'm a founder. And you sort of shrink down. I remember the first time I had to introduce that. Like, I founded a company called Luminary. Like, and it was like, wait, where did that confidence go? I know that I'm doing the right thing, but
Wow.
it had been stripped from me that I had known for so long. That's what people associated with me.
Mm, mm.
And I think
That's
people
what you
do.
were
And that
known for.
I
Mm,
was known. And if you, but then if you ask people that work for me or worked for me in the banking world, and kind of a ironic situation, a friend of a friend is a good friend of somebody that worked for me, and they were like, that's exactly what Kate should be doing, right? So
yes.
even they saw this as yes before I did, I think.
Mm, mm. So the second thing, Kate, that struck me is that whole thing of creating a safe space where women of different, in different industries and whether corporate and entrepreneurial can network. And I think that's amazing because what often happens is that there are networks for corporate women and there are networks for entrepreneurs. And I believe, like you, that the real good stuff is gonna start happening when women in corporate and women as entrepreneurs start to talk and to
Yes.
start to collaborate and to start to see different perspectives, right? Because there are many women, Kate, that I have met through networking, both at Luminary and other networks, who are leaving their positions,
Yeah.
that who are starting their own businesses. So either by choice, they're leaving because it no longer suits them, because like you say, there's a reassessment time, right? And COVID gave us that reassessment time of what do we really want? What is really important to us? And then there is also the thing of this is not working for me because my company is not giving me time to take care of my kids, not keeping me safe. I have to go back to the office and I don't feel safe.
Yep.
There's all kinds of things that have happened. And then the women who have actually just lost their jobs and they're having to find a new way. And so, what have you found, maybe one story that you can tell of how Luminary has worked for women in different sectors and in different areas of business?
I think, gosh, there are so many. Number
Mm,
one, I think when I, just to kind of back up, when I decided that Luminary was what I wanted to build in this community, right? And we hear that as a buzzword too, but really, and it is a community, and a community
it
to me
is.
wraps its arms around you and says, I got you, right? Whether that's
Mm,
to figure out childcare issues, or I'm going to help you figure out a new job, or you want to raise, or you're starting a business, or just I just need a vent. I got you, right? I'm wrapping
yeah.
my arms. And so it was one of the reasons, you talk about corporate women and women in entrepreneurship, transition. It's one of the reasons why we didn't have an application process, right? Because
Mm,
by nature, we all have bias. And so the minute you put an application in front of someone, there's exclusion that's excluding others, right? And so
yes.
we said, forget that. I don't want to exclude. If somebody wants to be a part of us, then be a part. That's a community, right? We
Mm,
actually put barriers down. We don't set them up. And so when you talk about women in corporate and women in, all these journeys, we've all been siloed, right? That's your box. Stay in it. You fit
yeah.
in it and forget that, right? We've got to get out of that box and start working together. And working together could be, hey, this is my idea. What do you think? To, I'm just trying to get a raise, Tracy. Can I
Yes.
bounce off? Or I'm coming across a boss that doesn't get it. All of these different, or I just think I want to do something different. And maybe in my same company or my industry, how do I position myself? And then you talk about
Mm,
all of these women that are out of work and have been displaced or have left work because of the pandemic. It's like we've got to stay tethered to one another,
yes.
stay tethered to our networks, but all at the same time continuing to invest in ourselves, personally and
Yes.
professionally. And
Yes.
that is how, when you bring women, and by the way, we've never excluded men. We love men. We welcome them. When you create an inclusive environment that's truly intentional and purposeful, those connections, those conversations, they just happen, right? It's
Mm,
not inauthentic. It's not inorganic. It's organic. It's authentic. And people go, how do I help? Right? It's not just about how do you help me? It's how do I help you? And
mm,
whether you're on a Whisper network, which you've participated in, or just a general session, it's like I'm meeting all these people that I can learn from, but that I can help.
yeah.
And that's sort of the ethos of who we are.
Mm. And I have to attest to that, Kate, I do a lot of networking, and I've visited lots of different co-working spaces, and I too was very put off by this whole thing of you must apply and then you get accepted. And I was like, oh, that just sounds like BS to me, actually. It's more about can you pay or you're going to give us your credit card than it is about, who are you and what can you what are you bringing to the community? And, just I see that Joanna's on. She said,
I
Kate, she
saw
said, did you guys match your outfits? Like, we didn't.
I did the Luminary.
It's incredible. See, I was wearing Luminary color today. And I don't normally, this is a new color for me as well. So it's really quite a thing. But, so Joanna, that's a great example. Joanna and I met through Luminary. And the one day I had a question and I was like, who can I speak to about this? And I was like, Joanna's a person I can speak to. Now, although she's an entrepreneur, she's also worked in corporate for many years. She's in a different, she works with corporate women, whereas I tend to work more with entrepreneurs. But we had the most fantastic conversation, and she was able to give insight to things I hadn't thought about. She was able to connect me with people that were great connections for me, and I just thought, where are you going to go where you so quickly make those connections and are able to say, hey girlfriend, I need a bit of help, and sometimes a bit of help is just meeting for a glass of wine at Luminary or over Zoom over a coffee and having a conversation. It doesn't always have to mean like a huge, big commitment. No. It's just being there for each other.
I like to say, leave our egos at the door, right?
Yes.
Walk out with confidence, right?
Yes. So Kate, tell me now, I hate going into too much COVID talk because I feel like we're ready to move on, but I do think that there's some amazing lessons that we can learn and we can take away that hopefully we'll take into this new world as we reform and recreate this new world that we're going to live in. And so how did you find that redirection in Luminary? And what were you touched on it very briefly on the good things that came out of it, but can you expand a little bit more about how you redirected and what were the amazing gifts that came out of that were completely unexpected?
Yeah, I think when the last March, which is crazy to think of, this has been over a year, I think we were all thinking this is not going to be that long, but we're going to adapt to the right now, right? So we're gonna navigate the now and eventually prepare for whatever's next. And for me, it honestly, it wasn't even a thought like, how do I do this? It was, we're back. We've got to be there for the members in our community. And that means going online literally overnight because we have so much programming just as normal. We always do. We didn't want to cancel a bunch of things. People were looking forward. We had facilitators. We had women like you that were like, I need this. So we went online and we did it well before most of our peers. But because, why we did that is because it came back down to, I want to be there for the community. We lost almost 80% of our revenue in 3 months of the beginning of the pandemic, which was devastating, but I didn't raise money. So I didn't have to go to an investor. I didn't have to go to someone and say, can I make these decisions? I literally said, here's my team. Here's what we're hearing from our customers who are our members. We're going to make these decisions and we can do them literally overnight. I also, when you think about gifts, the biggest gift that I've seen, there's two. One is just the way this community stands up for itself and shows up for every single person. And even in those that had to leave the community for financial reasons, saying, I'm so sorry, don't want to leave, but I've got to make a better financial decision for the time being. I love that. It wasn't just about, I got to get out of here. They were really just having to leave, and hopefully we'll bring most of them back. The bigger gift was my team. So when you start a business and you've got a startup and you're running 1,000,000 miles an hour, you're going from day to day to day to day. You don't have a lot of time to think, right? You just are, it's a lot of reacting. And your team is equally as running 1,000,000 miles an hour. When COVID happened, and it's still happening, what I saw were new skills I probably never would have seen out of my team. They were stepping up every single day. Plus I had COVID, right? So I was really sick in the beginning of the pandemic. Every day, I just saw new skills. I saw new ways of working. I saw them, that I probably wouldn't have seen prior because we were just, going, 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 going. This allowed
Yeah.
us not really to take it back, but just say, okay, here's what Rachel does, but here's the 1,000 other things she can do. Here's what,
Yes.
does. And by the way, jobs had to adapt, right? If you're an events director in a physical space and now you're on Zoom, that job changes. But being see and watch the team grow and their skills and then all still be standing and showing up every day, even now. And it's remarkable. And I don't think I would have seen all of what the team could do if the pandemic hadn't happened. I think it also pushed each of them to think about what else they wanted to do, what more they could do. Our Chief Impact Officer, Surbi Lal, who's been with me since the beginning, reflected during this time and said, I want to go after a bucket list. I want to go get my PhD, right? Think about this year. Like if we forget about this year, then we've wasted it. And for me, that big came out of really seeing who my team was and the power of just them as individuals, not just my staff and those that serve our community. They are equal parts of this mission, and I wouldn't be here. Luminary wouldn't be here without them.
Yeah. And Kate, I think that it comes across right throughout your organization because your team believe in what Luminary is doing. They believe in your vision for the company, and they're part of that. They're just as much a part of it as you are. And so it comes across. It really, really does. And I also want to say that, what you're saying about learning those skills, and I think Joanna's also said, yes, absolutely, we learn new skills. I learned a whole bunch of new things. And I think as women, we had to be super tenacious.
Yes.
Like that word that you like that I use, we had to be tenacious. We had to be flexible. We had to say, okay, well, I've got to get my business online and now let me learn how to quickly do it. I've got to be able to try this and try that. And I think that's where we're going to see women really come out on top because we are flexible by nature and we are able to go, what needs to get done? And let's just get it done. And I've seen so many incredible heroes in Luminary just through, networking and hearing stories that it has empowered women on such a big scale and has taken their careers to a much higher level, even if they're not yet aware of it.
Yeah,
because I think only as we come out, as we're coming out of COVID, we have almost like dormant, I almost get this feel we've got this like dormant skill set that's happened during COVID. And now we're going to be able to see the reward from it. And we're going to see that pretty soon. I think so.
For me, it's people keep saying, oh, you've done a great job managing through this. And, I keep saying, hey, we're not through this yet, right?
Yes. We aren't. Yeah.
But
and we're going to go through a new stage, a new new normal, right? Because now we're coming out. Now I'm seeing women be very tired of Zoom, like very screen fatigue. We want to get together in person. But now what do we do about community, the part of our community that is across the country? And we developed relationships with them. So I think it's going to be an ever evolving time and also a very exciting time because the old way wasn't actually working for many people. Yeah. And we do need to relook at that and relook at how are we going to make this more equal? How are we going to make this work for everybody? And how are we going to stop focusing on the divisions and find the things that connect us? Yeah. And Luminary is an awesome place to do that.
Yeah, there's a question around mentors and my just to I am Mahogany Fox. I love these lives because then I can actually see. One of the questions is around. All of my mentors that I had for banking are still my mentors, every single one of them. And I lean, I talk to them and I call on them, right? Because those are not just mentors, they're relationships that I want to continue to nurture through the rest of my life. They were there for me through different parts of my journey, and some of them are going to continue. I want to also be there for them, right? And the other sort of thing is, with those relationships in particular, this is why network and relationships are so important. when you can call on them in your next job or your next endeavor. And so JP Morgan is a great example. And actually a number of my, former Bank of America, they've all engaged and now support Luminary in different ways, right? And some of those are the corporate level. And it's just really, you have to invest in your relationships. And people don't like the word networking. I get it. I don't mind it because I love to network. I'm out there.
Me too.
But if you don't like the word, figure out another word, because this is what makes the world go. This is how you get your new jobs. This is how you get investors. This is how you get new clients. It's so much of who I am and the community that we've built. As we think about, Tracy, what's next, right? So we members all over the world. We've got corporate members all over the world. And then we've got our people here in New York. And so we will now forever be hybrid. So when events come back and people are in a space, we'll have those. And then we're going to live stream them to every other single one of our members around the world, right? So you may be in the space seeing Tracy Gold talk on a panel, but then anybody else that is not in the space will be able to see that same panel. And when you think about the way work has changed, I don't know anyone that's going to plan to go back into their office, big or small, for 5 years, right? Even if you're in New York. So we've got to make sure that we're bringing the digital and virtual back in. And I get it, we're zoomed out. But over time, you're going to pick and choose and say, what are the most relevant events or meetings I need to be a part of? And our goal is to make sure that the quality and the work product or the what we deliver is what you choose.
Yes. Yeah. And Kate, I think that it's going to be a hybrid. I mean, even for me right now, I'm zoomed out, but it doesn't mean that I don't see the value of Zoom. And I think in the beginning, we're probably all going to go, just to get together and have a coffee and to go, how are you? Okay, bye. It was so nice to see you. Just to be able to have that in-person experience, because it feels like such a luxury. And then I think we'll kind of go, okay, it's not going away for a while. We can kind of calm down now, and we'll be back onto Zoom and combination of Zooming. Because what is amazing about networking is you can go from one to the other and not have to get across town to the other place, or fly in from a different city. I mean, it's incredible. And I think the options are wide open, are going to be very exciting. So
we're piloting that. We've already got the setup. My team, again, has been incredible and started piloting that when people feel comfortable doing even a small event. Our rooftop is up in the next 2 weeks as a restaurant bar. The Glass Ceiling Nomad, 29th and Broad.
Amazing.
And so, but just from the day we left sort of physical space, it was all around how to keep the community engaged and how to be there for the community. We've seen other completely desert their communities and now coming back. And in my mind, that's not a community. That's like, we left you when you most, but now we're back.
Yes. Yeah. And then what is that really? Because then we weren't there for you during the hard times, or we didn't know what to do, so we just didn't figure it out. And I think that communities like Luminary are going to grow from strength to strength, because we've been there for each other during the tough times, and now we can celebrate as we come out of that, and we recreate and strengthen those bonds, and now actually be able to meet in person for some of us, for those of us who are in New York City. So Kate, I know that you have a limited time today, so I just want to thank you very much for coming on. I also want to just say that for those of you who are interested in joining Luminary, if you have not yet, I highly, highly recommend that you do so. And I do have a coupon code for you that gives you 15% off your monthly membership and 5% off your yearly membership. So you just need to go to my website, and it's tracygoldshow.com, and it's TRACY. Gold is on the color, show.com. Do not Google it. You'll find Tracy Gold from Growing Pains. I'm not the same woman. So you can click the link in the bio and just subscribe to the newsletter, and you'll get an automated email with the coupon code with all the links to Luminary, so you can check out the various different options. And just from my side, it's very affordable and amazing. And what you get is unreal. So I highly, highly recommend that you do that.
We love you, Tracy, and love what you're
Thank you so much.
and we're excited to watch you grow and build this whole new part of your business at the show, but just to be there for you, and that's the whole.
Thank you.
So thank you for
Yeah.
having.
Thank you, Kate. It was absolutely wonderful. Thanks to all of those who watched. Go on to the TracyGoldShow.com and sign up for the newsletter. Get your coupon and get your ass to Luminary if you can, either both on Zoom or in person. In fact, I'm going to be there on Thursday. I'm very excited. I have a wine o'clock meeting with another member, so I'm very excited. Hopefully, I'll see some of the ladies there. So take care. Have a wonderful day. Take care. Bye.